Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to Keys to the Kingdom. As always, my name is Sam and I'm here to help you liberate from your flesh, define your purpose, and live the life that you came here to live. And today I'm talking about the transitioning process from your old life to your new life. We're talking about shifting parallel realities. Such an important part of spiritual awakening is the transition process that we all have to go through. Like it or not, we all have to bloody go through it. And this is because spiritual awakening is, of course, like you know, raising your frequency. That's what it's all about. And it's coming to the understanding that we are energy, frequency, and vibration. It's coming to a new understanding of how reality works. And this understanding is going to help you get into expanded states of consciousness. It's going to help you to figure out why people are the way they are, why things are the way that they are. So this is an incredibly important subject for us to talk about today. So thank you for joining me once again. Time for another powerful audiobook. Time for tapping into higher streams of consciousness. And I really enjoy making this kind of content because it helps me to stay in that expanded state of awareness, because along this journey you go through ups and downs. It's not all rainbows and sunshines, and it's understandable because the world is so asleep right now. And I've spoken a lot about the demiurge and soulless beings and how this is an inverted matrix. I've spoken about how, because the body is made out of 6 electrons, 6 neutrons and 6 protons, which makes up carbon, this is Satan's playground. The 666 is the mark of the beast. And this is also reflected in the Gnostic scripts when it talks about the demiurge and how they literally describe this reality as a bad copy of original Earth, and that original Earth really still exists, but actually this is a matrix. This is you could call the original Earth a matrix too, so in a sense I say this is a matrix within a matrix. And when I say matrix, I'm saying that the biological computer, the body, is basically the processor in which that we decode information into holographic reality. So this world is all codes, ones and zeros, like I've been speaking about many times. And we decode everywhere we go. We're decoding information, whether it's through our ears, our eyes, our taste buds, our mouth, right, and even our feelings, our smells. But there's also a way that you can tap into higher consciousness, and that's what I'm going to be speaking about today with regards to shifting to a parallel reality. So the Gnostics called this world a bad copy. They say that the demiurge created this world. And you might call it the AI that made this world, because the film The Matrix shows this very well in its motion picture. If you watch The Matrix, obviously Neo escapes the Matrix and realizes that it's all generated by this AI, and the AI taps into all of the soulless beings within that Matrix, and all of the beings are in a low frequency, and basically takes over the soulless beings as Agent Smith. So everywhere Neo goes, he's being gang-stalked, he's being followed by Agent Smith. And even though he defeats one of them, he walks around a corner and there's another person that just shapeshifts into another Agent Smith. You guys have all seen the movie. If you haven't, you gotta watch it. It's very powerful. And again, all of these things, they're not here to tell you that that's exactly how it is, but they're all seeds to plant into your consciousness, because everything is information that we're decoding into holographic. So God, the Most High, is speaking to us, because ultimately the demiurge must have come as an emanation from Source, from God. So that's why I call it a spiritual earth school, right? It's a university, because ultimately God is in control. And it's only the demiurge basically feeds off of the ego, and it's a reflection of the ego. It's a spiritual experience ultimately that we're going through. It's not, just a prison planet and everything's out to get you. It may seem that way, and in a sense it is that way, but at the same time it's also an earth school, right? And we need to understand why we're here. But let's go back to the soulless beings and the demiurge and Agent Smith, because this is very important. So when you first go through a spiritual awakening, you seem to be called crazy by everyone. Everyone thinks you're going a bit mad. People don't really understand you, and it's all because you are now decoding a different frequency band, right? And it's just, maybe you don't understand reality yet, but you certainly are trusting your intuition, and maybe you are understanding things on a much deeper level, because you realize basically what you're doing is you're tapping into infinite states of consciousness, infinite awareness, expanded awareness, all possibility. And I think that is a great way of putting it, all possibility waiting to manifest. Right now, you are all possibility waiting to manifest. You can do anything, be anything, there is so much potential within all of us, and a spiritual awakening in a sense is realizing that. I mean, obviously there's loads of different ways you can have an awakening, but a massive part of it is realizing that you are all possibility waiting to manifest. So let's just take that mindset for a moment and then compare it to what I'm referring to as the soulless beings. Those that don't have soul, that are just operating on a program, they don't think for themselves. Even if there is a soul in there, they're still acting soulless. And even source players, what I refer to as source players, living souls within the matrix, they can still act as soulless beings. You can still be a soulless being in that sense. You can still, in the sense that you think just like Agent Smith wants you to think, just like the demiurge wants you to think, just in a state of ego, just in a state of how David Icke puts it as the phantom self. You identify just with the body. You think you are just this experience. You think the experiences that you have are you, as opposed to you are infinite awareness having this brief experience. So now, as an awakened being, you're identifying with a higher state of consciousness. You identify now as all possibilities waiting to manifest. You're an eternal being. You're connected to Source, all that is, all that ever has been, all that ever will be, right? And everything is just an experience that we're decoding right now. And right now, we're on Earth School. Right now, you are this being, right? I am Mr. Sam, and I am doing YouTube, right? I'm making videos and things. And I am a light worker. It's okay to have labels and things, because that's how we have conversations. It would just be a bit too airy-fairy if we didn't, choose to identify as things. I'm not saying, because even with regards to being vegan, I still say I'm a vegan, but in reality, I'm just healthy. I just choose the healthier options, and I choose to not harm other sentient beings. I choose to do the least amount of harm possible. That's alright. If you want to call it a vegan, that's what you call it. Fair enough. If you're just so that we can have a conversation. Right, so I want to talk about how to transition, because you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm saying most people around you haven't had a spiritual awakening, and you have. So now you're operating at a different frequency band, and we must understand that we are all one. We're all one. We're not separated by race, blood, culture, whatever, religion, monetary, class. We're not separated by anything. So when I sort of come to this realization, I thought, well, I used to be really into, a family man, and I didn't want to, I always loved my family. I put my family first. But then when I started operating at a different frequency, and I had an awakening and completely changed, I no longer resonated with these people. And I'm sure you've gone through this too, even with your old friends, or maybe you still hang out with them. But the point is, every single spiritual person I know, like Ralph, Smart, Aaron Doughty, everyone that's been through a spiritual awakening, I guarantee along their path, even if it's in the future, everyone has to move on. You have to let go of people. I remember Ralph even saying once that I swear his mum said she didn't understand him, and she thought he was a bit crazy. But that's just how it is, and because people can only see you as deeply as they see themselves, it's hard to explain an experience that other people can't even comprehend, let alone have never been through it. And you really have to seek this sort of information, otherwise it just doesn't make sense. I remember when I first read one of David Icke's books. His books are like 600, 700, even 1,000 pages long, some of them. And they're all filled with information, so much information just on one page. Sometimes I'd read a whole page and then I'd have to read it again just to digest it. That's the dedication it takes to understand the nature of reality that we live in, and to actually go through the unravelling of nonsense within our mind and the brainwashing from the demiurge, or from the AI, if you want to call it AI. Maybe it's the archons, the reptilians. Even David Icke says that the reptilians, they can't create, right? They need us to create for them. That's why they brainwash us so much, right? And that he says that they are basically archons. The archons are basically, they love their technology. Is that because they are technology, right? They are obviously the inorganic ones. So the archons, they cannot create. They need us to create. And this is why they brainwash us to create the world that they want us to create. And this is why they're trying to enslave us and literally control our minds with microchips, right? And this is what it says on the back of David Icke's book. It says, "The madman who has been proved right again and again and again." David Icke has been warning for nearly 30 years of a coming global Orwellian state in which a tiny few would enslave humanity through control of finance, government, media, and a military police Gestapo overseeing 24/7 surveillance of a microchipped population. And he says, he has said that physical reality is an illusion, and what we think is the world is a holographic simulation or matrix created by a non-human force to entrap human perception in ongoing servitude. But what I tend to think is the answer, and what I tend to see along my path, is that there are many different people speaking with many different views of how and what the solution is to the demiurge control system and the clear problem, what you can see when you go through an awakening. You've got Dolores Cannon talking about the New Earth split, and she talks about the convoluted universe, and even Bashar talks about parallel realities and how we are constantly shifting through parallel realities. But he plays the game of, he literally slates David Icke in a sense, because he says that, obviously David Icke attempting to be the hero and tell everyone about what's going on is also shooting humanity in the foot, because now he's putting that in our heads and we are manifesting what we're claiming to not want to manifest, or what he's claiming to expose. So they're sort of contradicting each other, and you'll see this more and more. There are many, many different people on YouTube talking about all these things, but I want to give you the solution from where I see it, from my point of view, and what I've seen along my own journey to really be the solution, because as above, so below, everything happening on a micro level, so in my own world and your own world, is also happening in a macro level, in the collective script. So it works in the same way. So your spiritual awakening process, how you go from your old life of being a brainwashed little slave of servitude in your own human perception, thinking the way they want you to think, to awakening and thinking for yourself, and literally going through that shifting process from, your old life where you were in certain circumstances, maybe a job you don't like, with a toxic family maybe, or just a family that don't understand you, with friends that don't understand you, and maybe they did when you were asleep, but now they don't. And then you go through the shift process. And I went through this shifting process, and I ended up meeting my partner Jade. I ended up moving to hers, and I was still going back at the weekends to my old life, and I was still working at the weekends to try and make some money. And I thought that money would save me. If I just got more money, then I could just go wherever I want, then I don't have to keep going back to my old life. But in reality, the world doesn't work like this, and this is what I'm talking about. You've got to, because there is no Earth, we live in parallel realities. The answer isn't ignorance. I couldn't just be like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to trust the process and just leave my work and just trust that everything works out all right. I couldn't just be ignorant. I had to have awareness, and I had to trust the process of life. And what I've seen is that maybe it works different for different people, but what's worked for me is I come to the understanding that the law of attraction, or the way things manifest in your life, isn't always the same for everyone, and it's not always a gradual process. It's not like, oh, you're becoming more successful by the day, Sam. It's like, no, sometimes it's a little bit frustrating for months, and you're learning a lot and you're not really going anywhere, and then all of a sudden a massive shift happens and you're rich the next day. Or a massive shift happens and you've moved house, or you've met someone new. It's not like, if you're trying to meet someone, it's not like you're just going to become friends for ages, and then 2 months later, then 2 years later we'll get married and stuff like that. It doesn't really work like that. It's almost like you meet and you just know instantly and things, but it might be different for other people. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that maybe it's different for all of us. But what I am also saying is that you have to have an open mind. It doesn't always happen in a linear progressive state. Doesn't always happen as you may expect it to happen. So this is where we have to understand our brainwashing and how our perception was, because spiritual awakening is a complete shift in mindset. Keyword being complete. Everything you thought was true has to change and you have to know it. It's not about believing it, but every way in which you think about everything ends up changing over time. And that's just because you live in a world of change. But because there is no Earth, right, we're talking about parallel realities. The answer is not ignorance, but understanding of how we've been brainwashed. So I do think that there are parallel realities, in the sense that, like, if you look on TV, you'll see people protesting, you'll see people in China getting tear gas thrown at them. You'll see people starving in Africa from whatever. Right? You'll see people looking at pixie trees and looking for pixies in the forest, have no idea about anything else that's going on in the world. You'll see, like, I'm right here in this room talking. There's people, everyone has an individual reality and are experiencing the collective script in a different way. And, in these books like Convoluted Universe, the way it's explained is very hard to wrap your head around, but you don't really need to wrap your head around. You really have to understand what you can change and what you should change, and change it, and then what you can't change, and then have the strength to just be able to let go. And then we have to understand that you turn into whatever you tune into, but what you focus on grows also. So we have to be willing to let go. We can't change anyone else. All you can do is inspire people, and those that are ready to listen will listen. So when it comes to family and friends and stuff, you've got to let go of our brainwashing of, just because they're your blood, right? That blood's thicker than water and all this. you got to let that go. In reality, we've got a soul family out there, people that came to Earth for the same reason you did, and you end up meeting up. I ended up meeting Jade, and even her family are what I would consider my soul family, because they love you, and people say they love you, but what do they show in their actions? If they love you, then they care about you, then they listen to you, then they want the best for you and stuff like that. And so there are people out there that will love you. There are people out there that your love will be felt by them. And so are you just wasting your time trying to cling on to the past? Or are you going to accept what you can't change? You can't change others. And if they're not listening to you and stuff anyway, then, at least we need to learn how to limit our time around them, because you're turning into whatever you're tuning into. So we have to realize this, and it's not about being ignorant and just looking the other way. It's about coming to an understanding of how we've been brainwashed and then seeking the truth. Like, I was brainwashed into putting my family and blood above everything else, until I realized that we're all one human family. So if you're nice to me, then I'll hang out with you. If you're not, then I'm not going to hang out with you. Simple as that. I don't care what your status is, what your labels are. And that's just one thing. It's the same with your job as well. It's going to be tough when you're transitioning from one job to another job, because you are in a situation where because of the environment you're in at your old job. Like for me, in doing hairdressing, I'm in that job, so that's what I've got to focus on. That's what I'm tuned into. But at the same time, I'm focusing on a different path from what I want to shift into a different job. So I've got to learn that where am I going to place my energy? I can't serve two masters, but at the same time, there's a system of money. We've got bills to pay, we've got mouths to feed and stuff like that, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So we've got to learn to put a limited amount of energy, limit our amount of energy in the old job, and then put more energy into the new job. And eventually we'll start making more money on the other job, and you can limit your time at your old job, and then there you go, you're transitioning. And I've seen this so many times. Like when I was working in a barbershop, I was standing at the barbershop preaching to my customers about all this truth and all this stuff that's happening on the earth, only if I would say only if it was necessary, but at the same time, sometimes I was being a bit stupid and, speaking when it wasn't necessary, and arguing with people it wasn't necessary to be arguing with. And so I was spending more energy than what was necessary. So it's not just about bringing your days at that job down. I mean, obviously that can help, but if you can't afford to do that because of your circumstances, that's understandable. But when you're in there, don't just be wasting your energy. I can stand there and visualize the life I want to create. And, a lot of New Agers don't admit this to you because they want to make out that they're all magical and powerful and they can just attract anything they want. But in reality, there is a transition process, and a lot of us aren't lucky enough to be in a situation where you just live at your mum and dad's house and things are just paid for you, and you just come from a sort of wealthy background. It's not like that. Sometimes you've got a whole family, and you've got mouths to feed, and you've got a mortgage and all this stuff. It's not so easy, and I totally understand that. We've got to be mature about this, So the answer is to understand your brainwashing. Like I said, in the shop we've got music on, and obviously the mainstream music industry is controlled by Hollywood. The word Hollywood comes from, holy is obviously spiritual, and then the wood, which is a stick, which is holy wood as a wand. But also the witches used to carve their wands from the holly tree. So that's why it's called Hollywood. But the point is, they're casting spells on your mind with their music, with the words they're saying, with the 440 hertz. So the answer is to listen to more 5 to 8 hertz. But also, if you're in you can't just listen to 5 to 8 hertz whilst I'm in a barbershop, can I? So I'd put on different music that had more uplifting lyrics at least. At least it wasn't too diabolical. But if you can't do that, you need to learn how to block it out a little bit. And sometimes you may even be able to put earbuds in your ear, who knows? I don't know what sort of job you've got. But there is ways around it, and you've got to just be really aware of what you're paying your attention to. Don't start, like in this shop where you're working now or whatever, don't keep putting your energy into stuff that doesn't matter, getting frustrated with people you work with and all this stuff. Just, you've got to be a shapeshifter, right? And again, the reptilians have taught us a lesson about shapeshifting. You got to be able to shift and just be polite, get through the day, whatever. They don't need to know everything you know. You got to know when to talk, when not to talk, and just sort of shift to their level of consciousness, see where they're at, and just say, just reflect that you can still be honest and reflect things, but don't just waste your energy trying to preach to everyone. This is a lesson I've learned from personal experience. And, there's a time to wear a mask in society, and there's a time not to wear a mask, and that's what true wisdom is about. And you got to learn how to shift into their level of consciousness so you can understand where they're at, so that you can put the right seed in their mind. So obviously the music, but then they've also done so many things to us, haven't they? Like, the majority of the brainwashing is all about fear, separation and ego, right? They want to keep you, even like with aliens, they make us fear aliens as opposed to them being nice beings. They make us fear losing your family. They make us fear going out on your own in the world. They make us fear anarchy, right? Anarchy meaning your own internal sovereignty, right? Thinking for yourself, speaking for yourself, acting for yourself, right? Knowing yourself and your rights. They make us fear that, right? Because if you don't have your family to look after you, what if you get ill or something? Then you'll be on your own. And it's like, no, you got this. The universe will look after you. People will look up, you'll meet the right people. You got to trust the universe. Trust the process. Trust your heart. Even the money system, the money system is trying to deceive us of what the real currencies are, like I spoke about in the Manifest Magic Money video on YouTube. And then they've brainwashed us through the school system, like to obey authority and stuff like that. And even religions, it's all about obeying authority and believing a false belief system as opposed to seeking and learning truth. Even with morality, when it comes to religion, a lot of the morality is just backwards. It doesn't just say don't harm sentient beings, do the least amount of harm possible. It's about, don't indulge in chocolate and stuff. It's like, no, don't indulge in toxic behaviour, but eating chocolate isn't toxic. And even with your diet, a lot of our diet has been manipulated and is lied to. So it's not about ignorance, my friends. It's about coming to an understanding of the truth in all of these areas. With diet, we've been told that meat is healthy, when if you watch What the Health, they say, even white meat and red meat is the same as whether do you want to be shot or do you want to be hung. There's not much difference in it. And even cow's milk, because cow's milk is so acidic, your body has to compensate by taking calcium out of your bones to neutralize the acidity in your blood. So it actually takes calcium out of your bones. It's the complete opposite. Even the justice system, right? They look after people with money as opposed to whether it's actually right or not. Who is actually in the wrong? Who's actually in the right? Even the government system, they're governing your mind as opposed to you governing your mind. Even the media. That word comes from the goddess Medea, the goddess of deception, right? They're deceiving you. 4 companies own 90% of the TV stations that you see on the television, and they're all friends, believe it or not. Even they own all the porn industry, so they're teaching many people anyway about sex in a completely different way. They're promoting lust, even in their music. It's all about lust and stuff, as opposed to love. and it's all about the flesh as opposed to the soul. It's all about expending your energy through ejaculating everywhere and orgasms through the roof, as opposed to using that energy sacredly. And actually, I talk about the internal orgasm and how you can actually heal yourself with orgasms and that sort of the sexual energy. But they use it to dumb humanity down, to make us stupid and egotistical, and we glamorize the body as opposed to, the soul, in a sense. We should look at people's souls, not their bodies, is my point. Even in the gym, right? Everyone wants to get that amazing body and they want to get strength by making their muscles stronger, but then they don't teach you about chi, right? If you just learnt about chi, you'd be so much stronger anyway. And even with, most people are taught how to be selfish as opposed to be selflessness. And we're basically taught ego instead of love. And love is the truth, my friend. And if you want to transition into your new life and you want to shift to a parallel reality, you want to make that shift happen faster, then the basics are you need to get in touch with the Trinity. And that's not the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That's your mind, your heart, and your guts. So your mind, what you think about, needs to be in alignment with what you care about and in alignment with your actions. That's the Trinity. Get yourself in harmony. Many people are in situations they don't want to be in. So physically they're somewhere, but spiritually they're somewhere else. In their head, they're elsewhere. And therefore, they're not in their center. They're not, they're overthinking in the future, in the past. Why are we overthinking? Let's just be present with where we're at. Let's trust the process of life. This is the chapter that we're on. Let's make it happen. If you're present like that, then you've got chi. Now you've got energy. You've got source. Now you can hear your spirit guides. Now you're centered. So we need a shift in mindset. And the shift in mindset comes because we understand what is real, because we understand what is not real. And the spiritual awakening is understanding what's not real. And when you have a shift in mindset, the first law is the law of mentalism. Right, after the generative principle, obviously we've got the generative principle of care, which governs all laws, but then the first Hermetic principle is the law of mentalism. So when we have that shift in mindset, because what we care about has changed. We care about our freedom now. We've had that, we've touched source, we've touched infinite consciousness, all possibility waiting to manifest. So now we care about our freedom. We care about the evolution of consciousness on this planet because we realize that will bring about paradise. So now we've got a shift in mindset. We now understand what's real. Now we are vibrating at a different frequency, and when that shift in mindset happens, the holographic reality that we live in and we decode will start to change, and you have to learn to let go of the flow. We have to learn to take risks. We need to learn to take action, and just sometimes you got to face your fears and take bold jumps and leave your old life behind. And that is when you'll get the most healing in life, because a lot of things will come to the surface. You'll have to face your biggest shadows. But when you do, then the shifts in reality will actually occur. Because these deep unresolved issues that you've been hiding away from your whole life by the distraction matrix, the energy extraction matrix, because you've been focusing on all this nonsense your whole life, you've not been facing what's real, what's in your own subconscious. This is your body, this is your life, this is your subconscious mind, this is your story. This is your story. When you face these, you're changing the biological computer. Therefore, what you what you decode from the holographic reality is going to change. It's just, that's law, that's how it changes. You got to change on the inside, then things start to change on the outside. And when you make conscious choices to create a different life, then you're shifting to a parallel reality. So it's about understanding your old self so that you can then understand your new self. And your new self, you got to think, I live in a world of infinite possibilities. I know I'm connected to everyone else, and I've got to be of value and service to others. That's just the world we live in. We're sociable beings, and we are governed by, we've got this government, and we've got this religious systems, and we've got the mainstream media brainwashing everyone. We've got monetary systems. These things do occur. So that's how reality is at the moment. We've got to be able to see where we are so that we can then make the right changes and go to where we want to be. So create a life where you are healing the world, my friends. So whether it's music that you're doing, or something else, if you're an artist, create artwork that's healing other people. Write your own songs and do it in your own way. Like, so many people I speak to, you guys have amazing talents and abilities. You've got amazing stories. I literally come to tears sometimes when you lot tell me your stories. I've spoken to so many beautiful people that have gone through so much and are far stronger than I am. Yet I'm up here making videos and other people are not. And I'm up here living the life I came here to live. And many of you are still distracting yourself, doing, trying to just copy other people's ideas or living other people's lives. And for me, it wasn't until I started to just speak from the heart. Share your mess with the world. Air your dirty laundry. I want to hear your stories, and people want to hear your stories. You don't know how many people you will help by telling them your story and how you got over it, and you don't know how much that will help you. It will heal you, because telling your story and how you got over it, now you've got to stay above it. Maybe you was a weed addict like I was. I used to smoke weed all the time, and it wasn't until I started creating and I had a purpose that I realised why I was smoking in the first place. I was just distracting myself, for the most part, smoking every day because I didn't like my life. I was distracting myself from doing the real work. So now I make videos every day. I don't even feel the need to smoke weed and do, and all these other addictions and things. You come above it, and that's what I'm all about. Liberate from your flesh, find your purpose, and live the life you came here to live, which is abundance, my friends, and freedom. And this is how you shift to a parallel reality. This is how we save the world. You got to realize what you can't change, and then what you can change, and change it and be an inspiration to those around you. That's what I teach. That's what I'm all about. Maybe you can go beyond that and you've got another powerful way of how you can help the world. Good, right? I want you to be doing it your way. We've all got our own ways in which we do it. But at the same time, there's still a system in place that, right now we all have to make money. And, maybe your job is to make a different monetary system or something that goes beyond. So maybe you could start a different platform like YouTube, but uncensored. There's many different ways we can go about this. But find your beast and find your niche. Find what you're doing. Find who you are, which is connected to your beast. Your beast is your niche, right? And when I say beast, go watch my video. Find your beast, not your niche. That's what I'm talking about. So, my friends, thank you for tuning in. That's how you transition to your new life, right? Let go of the old, move into the new. Stop feeding the old, start feeding the new. If you'd like to have a one-to-one session with me, get in touch with me. The links are below. I really appreciate all your love and support. Thank you again for tuning in. And I appreciate how much you all are going through. I know it's not easy out there, but I am with you the whole way, right? So love and respect to you all. And until next time, peace and love, my friends.